Hi everyone!
Hello.
Happy September. It is, it's September. Can you believe it?
3/4 of the year.
Wow. How has everyone been? We have a few announcements and kind of a lot of things to talk about this vlog, so we're just gonna kind of get into it. First of all, you may have noticed that we've taken a little bit of a break from doing like the longer playthroughs, the 1 to 2 hour longer games, and it's mainly because we just needed a little bit of a break.
Yeah, it gets a little tiring to do it.
Yeah, our ability to create content during this pandemic kind of waxes and wanes. And so I feel like once it hit August, then things started to really kind of weigh on us because, you know, we're in California and things aren't really getting too much better over here. And I mean, that's probably the same for a lot of you out there. That's just sort of been what's going on. Now, recently, we have been picking up some hobbies, some old hobbies, some new ones, to try to kind of balance that. We've been getting into photography. So if anybody out there is a photographer, we would love to hear your advice.
Tips and tricks.
We've also been playing a lot more music again lately. So there have been a few people who have reached out and asked us to bring music back into our vlogs. So as you can see, we are going to try to do that every month. So stay tuned to the end of the video if you want to hear more. So moving on to some announcements. First off, we were a part of a friend of ours. He has a channel called Board Games with Niramas, and he just hit 5K subscribers. So as a part of his like celebration weekend, we did a top 5 Euro games list with him. So if you're interested in hearing which 5 we chose each for this video, we will include a link to his video in the description. I was also on an episode of a video podcast for a gaming publisher called Ivy Games. And so they do a video podcast on their YouTube channel called Ivy Games Weekly. If you haven't heard of them, they're actually an animation studio who also produces board games. And so their most recent one was Moonrakers. And they actually have another game coming up called Veiled Fate. And we're actually going to do a preview video for that game.
Yeah, that one's scheduled to come to Kickstarter in October of this year. So we will be doing the preview video for it.
Yeah, one of the preview videos for it. And so they had me on their show and we discussed sort of like my process on how to teach games, how to learn and teach games, because it was one of the questions that some of their viewers had for when I went on the
It was show. One of the things when they announced that Monique was going to be on the show, it's kind of the feedback that they got. That's what they wanted to hear about. Yeah,
so it was a topic that that I've actually been interested in starting maybe a series on our channel. If you're interested in hearing about sort of my process and like how we learn games, how we teach Lacerdas or heavier games, because I know that teaching is sort of kind of a difficult thing for some people.
It can be sometimes a daunting task for some people.
Yeah, especially if you are like the dedicated game teacher of your group. So if you're interested in hearing a little bit about that, we will include a link down below as well. The next thing is at the end of this month, specifically on September 30th. So if you want to mark your calendars for that, we were able to participate in the annual Stonemaier Games charity auction. And so the way that it works is the whole auction is done off of BGG. It's a geek list, and there are several games that are being auctioned off. There's like 10 copies of the new Oceania expansion for Wingspan. There's 10 copies of the complete hardcover rulebook of Scythe, and then there's just like a few more Stonemaier Games titles that they're auctioning. And so certain content creators were asked to provide a charity that we feel kind of strongly about. So Stonemaier Games is not only going to match dollar for dollar the winning bid of each auction item, but they're also going to be donating $1 per thumb on each geek list item.
Yeah, for every thumb up.
Yes.
Extra $1.
Which is huge. So if you are not interested or you can't, bid on any of these items, then we would like to kindly please ask that you just thumb those items, just so these charities can have that kind of financial support.
Yeah, and all the charities will be listed on the geek list itself.
So that's coming up on September 30th, and we will do our best to include a link, before that happens, so that you know where to go.
Next up, Mercado de Lisboa, a game that we did a preview video for and a review, is now live on Kickstarter. It went live, I believe, on September 3rd. And it's a shorter Kickstarter. I think it's only about 2 weeks long. And not only can you pick up that game, but in the Pledge Manager, you can also pick up some of the other Lacerda titles that you may have missed. People have been asking us in some of the comments where they can get some of these titles, and that's one of the ways. You also do not have to purchase the new game. You could just do a $1 pledge, and then that gets you access to the Pledge Manager. So we'll leave a link for the Kickstarter page on the description below.
And it's specifically for the Lacerdas that Eagle Gryphon released. So you wouldn't be able to get like CO2 because that is a stronghold.
Yeah, I think it's the only one that you can't get.
Yeah. So it's all the Eagle Gryphon games, deluxe versions of the Lacerda titles. And included in that Kickstarter is the ability to get the Lisboa expansion, the Queen's expansion. If you haven't backed, Kanban EV and you're still looking to get that, you can get that through this Kickstarter.
We've also recently posted a geek list to BGG, and basically what it is a laundry list of all the different titles and games that we've done videos for. We're going to try to do it in chronological order. Monique has gone ahead and uploaded everything so far to that geek list.
It took so long.
Yeah.
So for context, somebody asked us if we could make a geek list. Maybe they don't have like a YouTube account or something, just as a way for them to know when we release a new playthrough. So
they can follow along on BGG.
So if that's something that interests you and that's a better system for you, then we'll include the link below so you can take a look at that geek list.
Yes. And we're going to try our best to keep it up to date.
Sometimes we forget.
Sometimes we might forget, yeah.
And lastly, we just want to say a big thank you to everybody out there who's been supporting us and our channel, especially the past few months, because we have been experiencing a significant amount of growth in the past 2 months, specifically.
Totally.
And so there are also a few content creators out there who have really been supporting us, and we couldn't have done this, without their help as well.
Yeah, totally.
So we do want to just kind of mention some of them. One of them, namely, is Jesse from Quackalope, Jesse and Jan.
Jesse and Jan, yeah.
So Quackalope is another board game YouTube channel. Jesse actually has a background in like film and photography, so a lot of their content, or all of their content, is like really high quality footage.
Yes.
So we will include a link to their channel down below as well. They recently did like a massive giveaway. A lot of you probably have seen it, but definitely recommend checking them out. They're really, really nice people as well. We've met them in the past, like they're friends of ours.
Yeah.
The next one is the Broken Meeple. He included us in his top, I think it was 10 content creators to check out. Yeah, when he hit 10K.
He hit 10K subscribers, and then he did a nice thing and just released kind of a video highlighting other content creators that are sub 10,000, and we were one of them.
Yeah, so he included us in the list. So that was really kind.
That's nice.
And lastly, Alex from Board Game Co., another really fantastic channel. He does like really detailed monologue style analyses of different things in board gaming. So it's like whether or not to back a Kickstarter or his reviews, and they're very really
it's
quite
like a
insightful.
Solo individual podcast, almost like a mini podcast.
Like he can just like turn on the camera and just speak straight. Just let it run. Like no editing necessary. So and he's mentioned us a couple of times or so. So I'll include a link to his channel as well. Next up, we have our monthly topic. It seems like every month for the past few months we've been having some kind of like topic that we are focusing on. And this month is kind of a difficult one for us just because we've been delaying it for so long, but so many people have asked about it in the past year. And this is the topic of our board game shelf. It's a tough one because we do have quite the collection in our opinion, and we are very, very aware that in order to have a board game collection in any capacity, that you already come from a place of privilege.
Right.
And we would never want to make, anybody feel uncomfortable, or like we don't want it to seem like we're
boastful
or showing off our collection. So that is not the intent at all. We are literally doing this segment because there are so many people who want to see it.
Right. They always see us looking over to the side and they want to see what is it that we're looking at.
Yes. So today we are finally going to give in and we are going to show you our shelves. Disclaimer, this is a product of years of us going to our local conventions and doing math trades, doing flea markets,
virtual flea markets,
Secret Santas. And a lot of our games are unplayed, which is, I think, something that a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah.
So we have an extensive shelf of shame. We are considering doing like a shelf of shame series in the future where we just kind of pull a game that we've never played off of our shelves and just play it and see how we feel about it, because the chances are actually much higher of us not really necessarily liking a game.
Yeah, because we don't know.
Because we don't know anything about it for some of these games. So we may consider that. If you see anything on our shelves that you're interested in seeing, feel free to comment down below or email us or something and let us know so that we can start kind of forming a list. But without further ado, here are our shelves. All right, so here are our shelves. Yeah, we have two Calyx.
The 5x5 Calyx, yep.
One here, and we also have like a little shelf over there, but it's not really important. We just
tiny little bookcase,
throw like extra stuff on there. There's not too much rhyme or reason to the way that we organize our games. So if you all have any recommendations, we are open to them.
Yeah, I once had this like fantasy of alphabetical order.
That's never happening. So
No.
let's get that out of the way.
Never gonna happen.
We used to organize it so that we had our forever games, meaning the games that we like the most, that we anticipate keeping for a very long time, on this shelf.
Yeah.
But then suddenly, like, all these other games started showing up on that shelf, just from like us leaving and then coming back and just like quickly having to put our games back on the shelf to clean up.
We don't want to see games laying on the floor, so when we get back from a trip, we'll just be like, just put it there.
Put on the shelf.
There's a hole.
So the way that we organize it now is some of the bigger games, so like all the big Lacerda deluxe boxes and stuff, go on top of the shelves because they don't really fit anywhere else. We also have these two drawers that pull out, and that's where we keep a lot of our small box games.
Little
so
fillers
like,
and stuff.
Yeah, all the filler types, they go in there.
So the only disadvantage of that is you have to remember what you have in there.
Yeah, so that's our shelf. Let us know if you have any questions about it or if you are interested in seeing any of these games played. But like we mentioned, a strong percentage of these games have never been played by us. Some we don't even know how they play.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there you go.
That's it.
Thank you for watching. And of course, now for our game of the month. We did play a lot of games this month,
We did,
actually.
yeah.
We had 2 really solid game days. Starting with you, what was your favorite game of the month?
My favorite, it's going to be a little bit of a spoiler. It's actually Mombasa. We got to play that game, I think, 2 or 3 times?
Yeah, we played it
Yeah,
several times.
Several times within the past month, and definitely that one. So I don't want to say too much about it just because it's something we'll be discussing later, but I do like it.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Runner-up?
My runner-up, this is a game that Monique is not a big fan of, but I really enjoy it. I made her play it. It is called The Grizzled, and so it's a fully cooperative card game, which is set in like a World War I art theme. Very, very good game.
I don't dislike it. It's just kind of...
Frustratingly hard.
It's frustratingly difficult and kind of like almost like depressing to play it just because of the theme and what happens when you lose.
All right, how about yourself?
My game of the month is actually a game from CGE, and I believe, I think it was a game of the month of mine, like some point last year.
Was it?
So if it was, I apologize. I tried to vary these up, but it's a game called Letter Jam. So Letter Jam is a fully cooperative deduction word game. So the way that it works is everybody has these cards, and all the cards have just like one letter on them. And so at the start of the game, you create a 5-letter word using these cards secretly. You scramble them, and then you pass them to the player on the left.
Right.
And so the object of the game is for everybody to figure out what their word was that was passed to them by means of deduction. So everybody tries to solve one letter at a time, and it's Hanabi style where you cannot see your letter, but everybody else can see your letter.
Yep.
And so you offer up hints in the form of other words by using the letters that you see at the table. And you have these numbered tokens. And so if I give a clue, then I would put the tokens down in the numbered order of how to spell the word that I just gave. Whatever place your letter is, you'll try to deduce what letter you're... Oh my god, it's so hard to explain.
This game is extremely difficult to explain for some reason.
The clue that you gave, wherever your letter lays, you're trying to figure out what your letter is depending on what letter is missing in that word. Oh my gosh, did that make sense? So anyway,
this is a how to teach for sure. This one is tough to
It's
explain.
really fun. You don't have to love word games in order to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
Yeah, do you have a runner-up?
Yes, so my runner-up is an interesting one. It's very different, and we actually demoed it with the publisher.
Okay.
And it is called The Night Cage.
Oh, yeah.
The premise of The Night Cage is everybody's controlling 4 prisoners, and the prisoners are imprisoned in some like in-between world. It's all dark. It's like, I'm not quite sure exactly where they are, but it's all dark, and all the prisoners have is just a candle. And so it's kind of like a dungeon crawl because wherever the person is holding the candle, they can light the tiles directly adjacent to them because this game is all about lighting tiles. And so the object is for them to find a key. Each prisoner needs to find a key.
A unique individual key for all 4 characters.
And then find a gate that all 4 of them must go to. But the trick is there are monsters, of course, And so every
they're all
time
they're lurking in the
they're lurking in the dark.
Yeah.
And so as you kind of traverse this like space, every time you leave a tile and you're not one space adjacent to it, it becomes unlit and that tile goes out of the game.
Right.
So you're constantly building and rebuilding this world, trying to find keys, trying to escape the monsters and find that gate eventually. It is a fully cooperative game and it was very interesting. Very different gameplay.
Yeah, 3 co-ops in our games of the month.
Yeah, what is happening? So those were our games of the month. What was your favorite gaming experience? Have you been gaming much? What are you doing to kind of pass the time? And anything new for you at all? Please leave a comment down below and let us know, because we always enjoy hearing from you.
Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next video.
Bye.
Bye.